Genesis 19. Goodbye, Sodom and Gomorrah. Hello, Lot's incestuous evil daughters. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. "My lords," he said, "please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning." "No," they answered, "we will spend the night in the square." Isn't Lot nice? He offers these strangers a place to wash their feet, which is apparently what everyone loves to do all the time. And these two angels respond by saying, "Nah, we're cool. We're just gonna sleep out on the streets." I feel like sleeping in the middle of the town square in a place called Sodom will not end well. And consider why these angels are here. They're theoretically scouting Sodom to find 10 righteous people so that they can go back and tell God not to genocide. Well, they found at least one guy right here. And instead of accepting his offer, they're just dismissing him. With an attitude like that, of course they're not gonna find people worth saving in the city. But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them." Well, that took a weird turn. At least Lot is like, "No, seriously, do not sleep on the streets. Just trust me, stay at my place." Also, all the men want to have sex with the strangers? Young and old? Like the kids too? Jesus. For a bunch of dudes who are about to violate the strangers, is it weird that they're almost politely asking for permission? "Can we please get acquainted, perchance, with your guests?" It's like there's consent, except not with the people they need to be asking. If Lot agrees to their demands, then consent apparently stops mattering completely. Can you imagine being the sort of host who gets this request? Some neighbors stop by to ask for tools or sugar. These guys want bodies. The weird thing is that it doesn't even sound like this is the first time they've made this request. They've done this sort of thing before. And everyone in town now knows to go looking for fresh meat like it's Shawshank. Everyone in Sodom really needs to move out. Also, why? If they're all this eager, they have each other, don't they? Why bother the two strangers? But don't worry. Lot would never give up two strangers to a sexually aggressive mob. That's what his kids are for. Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, "No, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you and you can do what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." You know, that started out so well. Lot could have said, "No, go home. You're all drunk and you need to stop being really creepy." Instead, he's like, "You can't have my strangers. But I got 2 virgins you can sodomize any way you'd like, entire town. Let me just hand them over to you. I don't need their permission. I'm the worst father in all of humanity." Is anyone else surprised that in a place called Sodom, we managed to find 2 virgins? Actually, it turns out, he's lying about his daughters. They're both engaged, and some versions of the Bible say they're married. Whichever it is, they're probably not virgins. But saying they're virgins makes them more appealing to the mob. Seriously, Lot is the worst father ever. How come the 2 strangers have protection under his roof, while the 2 girls who live with him do not? This is not what focus on the family is supposed to mean. Remember that Lot is supposed to be the hero in this story. He's the one righteous guy in all of Sodom. And he just gave up his daughters to be raped by every man in the city. "Get out of our way," they replied. "This fellow came here as a foreigner and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them." They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness so that they could not find the door. Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. So the town mob wants to push aside Lot to get to the two men inside, and they tell Lot, if you don't move, we'll sodomize you even worse than them. Thankfully, the angels saved Lot, and I guess stabbed every male in town in the eyeballs. Why would the townsmen suddenly not be able to find the door? They're right in front of it. They lost their sight, not their memory. The two men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, hurry and get out of this place because the Lord is about to destroy the city. But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. How on earth can you think this is all a joke when the entire town banged on the door, threatened rape, your future father-in-law offered up your fiancés to the mob, and there was a fight during which everyone in town went blind? Were these guys sleeping during all of that? Remember that these two angels are searching for 10 decent people, but instead they got in the middle of a fight and they're totally abandoning that investigation. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand and the hands of his wife and of his 2 daughters and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, flee for your lives! Don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. I guess we're leaving behind the sons-in-law. I know those two thought Lot was joking, but damn, I did not realize that warranted the death penalty. I guess Lot didn't ask his daughters for consent on that one either. But Lot said to them, no, my lords, please. Your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness to me in sparing my life. But I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me and I'll die. Look, here is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared. Poor Lot. They're trying to save him, but a 100-year-old man just can't make it up some mountains. It's the most realistic thing we've heard so far this chapter. By the way, Lot wants to flee to a small town called Zoar, which, since God is not destroying it, should have men and women and children. I repeat, it should have men. I just want you to remember that when you hear what Lot's daughters are about to do to him. He said to him, very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you reach it. That is why the town was called Zoar. Hurry, Lot, I got some genociding to do. Move it. By the time Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus, he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all those living in the cities, and also the vegetation in the land. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Think about all the ways God could have destroyed a city. Evaporation, ice age, climate change for the slow burn. He goes with burning sulfur. I can't decide if that's a cheap way out or just insanely cruel and smelly. He destroyed the world with water during the Great Flood. Now he's destroying Sodom and Gomorrah with fire. I expect earth and wind will be used against people very soon. What did Gomorrah do, by the way? We haven't even talked about the Gomorrahites, but I guess they needed to be fire and brimstone too. Pity the men in Sodom. They were already blind, and now they have to deal with acid from the sky. And I know Lot's family was told by the angels not to look back, but honestly, I would probably want to catch a glimpse of burning sulfur too. Lot's wife didn't do anything wrong. Religion is always punishing curiosity. She was looking back at the place she had lived her whole life, to her neighbors and friends and angry men who walk around looking for strangers to sodomize. And they're all being tortured by a vengeful God, and he kills her for it. What if she was just looking to see if the rest of her family was still there? God's in the middle of a genocide and thinks, whoops, one almost got away. God killed an innocent woman, and he didn't even tell us her name. First or last, just Lot's wife. That's like 3 layers of misogyny right there. Also, consider the utter weirdness of turning Mrs. Lot's wife into a pillar of salt. If you weren't familiar with this story, that is the most Mad Libs thing you can turn someone into. What were the other options? Lot's wife became a slab of meat. Lot's wife turned into a stack of Pringles chips. Why not a pillar of pepper? That one has alliteration and everything. Some people have said the story of Mrs. Lot's wife turning into salt was a way to describe why the Dead Sea has actual pillars of salt around it, which is not true and wouldn't make the story any less insane. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. So when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. Did God really remember Abraham, though? Because their last conversation was all about how God would spare Sodom if there were 10 righteous people in the city. And yet, that search never occurred. God's messengers went to literally the first house they came across in Sodom and stopped looking. Lot and his 2 daughters left Zoar and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. One day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man around here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine, and then sleep with him, and preserve our family line through our father." How long do you have to search for men before you give up all hope of ever finding one and think, let's sexually assault daddy? It's not like they're on an island, they're on a mountain. Go climb down and look around first. Try the town of Zoar. How many days has it been anyway? We're not told. It could be like 2 days in the mountains and they're already giving up. That's like getting shipwrecked and then 12 minutes later suggesting cannibalism. Like, let's just hold on a little while longer before we jump to the last resort. Why is Lot afraid of living in Zoar, by the way? He was already told it would be safe. Now he's climbing up the mountain? I thought he couldn't do that. This is such a weird family. There's Lot, who volunteered his daughters' bodies to an angry mob. The daughters were very eager to get impregnated by their father. And Salt. Where the hell are the daughters getting wine from anyway? Were they escaping Sodom but made sure to bring along a few bottles? The daughters left their husbands behind, but they grabbed the wine. You know, here's a thought that never seemed to cross the daughters' minds. Don't have kids. There are other humans out there. Not every family line needs to be preserved. That night, they got their father to drink wine, and the older daughter went in and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Last night I slept with my father. Let's get him to drink wine again tonight, and you can go in and sleep with him so we can preserve our family line through our father." So they got their father to drink wine that night also, and the younger daughter went in and slept with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. If any Christian ever says it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, because they oppose same-sex marriage, I just want you to say back to them, You're right. It's Lot and his daughters, not Lot and his sons. Also, if you're a guy and you drink a lot of wine, there's a good chance you're gonna have some trouble rising to the occasion, if you know what I mean. That's especially true when you're old. And that's even more true when you're not actively trying to have sex. I know none of that is the point of the story, but it's just another reason this is all very implausible. There actually is a reason the Bible has Lot getting drunk before impregnating his daughters. It gives him cover. It allows him to still be righteous because he didn't realize he was being sexually assaulted by his daughters. That's how biblical morality works. Even the loopholes contain rape and incest. If the older daughter already had sex with Lot, that could be enough to preserve the family line. So why does the younger daughter need to do it too? This is just gratuitous incest. But with all that said, it's damn near impossible that both women would get pregnant the first time they have sex in these messed up conditions, right? So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son, and she named him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites of today. The younger daughter also had a son, and she named him Ben-Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites of today. Well then, that is one interesting family twig. Good luck teaching this one in Sunday school. It takes a lot of work to be the most immoral chapter in an already immoral book, but genocide and incests and rape within verses of each other is just biblical values at their finest.